Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? It's your boy Big Mike in the building. Swish for real. We are here. We are back, baby. I got my co-host in the house as always. Boogie, Boogie, Bob Boogie. How you living?
I got my Swish four real shirt on.
He got the white one. I got the black one. He got a gray one, and you got a black one too, as well, don't you?
I have a black one as well. Yeah.
Rocking and roll. So if y'all want one, leave a comment, and we'll definitely get you one. Just we'll work it out somehow. We'll Instagram me something. Anyway, Boogie, how you living, man? How's things on your side of the planet, man?
Everything's good. Wild Dog and I went to Mavericks game Monday and got upgraded seats, and I was one row and two seats away from Jeff Skin Wade, so I got to talk to him for a little while.
Skin, hey, come on the show, man. Come on, baby. Come on. We'll talk basketball all night long. I'm telling you, go back and watch some of the stuff we already recorded, man. We basketball fanatics. That's good, man. I'm glad y'all had a chance to get some great seats at the game, man. As far as the game, what were your thoughts on it?
Uh, the coach's substitution patterns and who he played, they were actually trying to win the game. Uh, Here lately, the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's been putting the G League players, Dwight Powell, and somebody else in at the end of the game in fourth quarter. It's like playing your third string versus the first string, and they're still great players, good players, but when you're playing against the other team starters, it's not really a fair fight. And so he shortened his bench, and they they played Golden State. Well, Stephen Curry didn't play. Al Horford didn't play. Uh, it was amazing. He put this G League rookie guy that's 6'7", 6'8", who just signed a two-way contract like
You
a
told that
few
guy who's
weeks.
been shooting those three-pointers, man. That guy?
No, something Smith, the other guy,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and they had him guarding KP, and then they switched and had PJ Washington guard him. And I sent you a couple pitch, but it's funny. There's Draymond Green and KP standing next to each other, and Draymond's head is at KP, barely at KP's shoulder. His head's like here, and
Yeah,
Draymond
and
Green's
Draymond's
like 6'9",
yeah, he's a big old guy. And prayers to Moses Moody, man. I'm so sorry he had hurt his knee, man, in that game. That was crazy.
Yeah, we all wondering, it's like, how you gonna miss a breakaway dunk? And then we saw, like, he had to have torn something because he just kind of threw it up as he knew something went. He blew something out because he just threw the ball up. Like, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
tough injury, and that was his first game back from a wrist injury. And he was having a heck of a game, and uh, Sonora, last name started with an S. He had a heck of a game. Santos.
Yeah.
So
Golden State's
yeah,
not too bad, man. Especially the coaching is one of those
so they
prolific
hustle.
coaches.
If it's
Yeah,
a
they usually
Steve
does.
Kerr team, he's a top. He's of the Phil Jackson and Popovich coaching tree. Like, if you're going to play for Steve Kerr, you're going to hustle, or you're not going to get any playing time.
Yeah. And
So
I don't remember, and I may have to look it up. Did has he I think he did. Did Stephen Curry ever win an MVP title?
one, one that I
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
Wow. What year? Let me see. What year was that? Stephen Curry MVP 2015, 2016. Wow. And
And
he's
and he didn't win a Finals MVP until they won their fourth ring.
that's crazy because he had some phenomenal players on that team at the time. And speaking of MVP, we're gonna pivot over to the MVP race for the 2020-26 season. 2020-26, that's a lot of 20s. Anyway, there's a lot of great players, particularly that's really leading it. And I have my favorite. I think Wemby's going to win it all, but you have Luca, you have Wemby, you have SGA, you have Joker, you have shoot, even Maxi. You know what I mean? Tyrese Maxi is part of that MVP ladder, and Cade Cunningham for Detroit. All these great players. Which one you feel like has the best opportunity to win it? And don't forget Jalen Brown, because Jalen Brown's been like crazy without Tatum being on the roster.
I've said you have to have a year to set up an MVP season.
Mhm.
And 2 years ago, Luka kind of had that set up season, and then last year was kind of a jagged and, start and stop, and he didn't have 65. But if I had a vote, Jalen Brown number one, uh, probably Wemby number two, Joker, and then Doncic or Joker at three. Uh, I mean, Joker's won 3 MVPs, and he's breaking all the numbers that he's set before. And last night he almost had a triple double 20. He had
Yeah,
like 20 plus points, 19 rebounds, and almost 20 assists. Uh, that's crazy numbers. But
yeah, he's been.
they run the focus through him. Like I mean the Lakers have to outscore the other. I mean any team to win has to outscore the other team.
Mhm.
But some rely more on defense than offense. And the Lakers, unless they're in the high 120, 130, even 140s, they're not going to win. And so it it kind of goes back to Carmelo had no holes offensively. You couldn't stop him, but he wasn't known as a defender. He'd get the occasional steal, which shows up in the defense stats. And Luca's kind of turn in that. Offensively, he's a savant, but like you, as a team, their record is up there. Uh, they're fighting with Denver for that third or fourth seed, but hey, Jalen Brown without Tatum in Boston and had him in a number 2 seed before Tatum came back. Uh, he was MVP, rightfully so in my mind, in the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. Uh,
Mhm.
so you lose Jason Tatum and you still stay in the top 2 or 3, even in the East. That's an MVP to me. It's most valuable player, not the most valuable statistics.
Mhm.
Uh, so he would be. Uh, Tyrese is not getting the votes he got last year. Because
Tyrese
Philly,
Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey, because
Yeah.
Philly's not. They're not. They're a couple games out of the play-in,
Yeah.
and uh, that same reason Stephen Curry's not getting mentioned much either, because Golden State's kind of in the play-in.
Yeah.
Uh, voters have recency bias, and if Oklahoma City gets close to the 70 wins, it's going to be really hard not to give it to SGA again.
Yeah, and his competition for that would be Luka Doncic. Luka's been really playing. He's a dominant scorer and playmaker who's climbed the ladder. Especially when he was with the Mavs, he just showed a lot of potential of being one of those players that the league can really be. He could be the face of the league if you really think about it. And I don't know why Joker is not really the face of the league. I don't think he has that charismatic personality that the league really likes to have when it comes to players, man. But Shea Gillius neither. He doesn't have that personality. He has a bit of a personality, but it only comes out when he's around his teammates. They do these funny things where they put the towel over the announcer or the guy who's asking them, the commentator, whoever that guy is after the game. When they win a game, they'll put the towels over his head.
Probably Matt Pinto.
Is that Matt Pinto?
He moved on from the Mavericks to become their lead announcer.
Yeah, and I also saying like personality wise, I don't see Shay has that personality to really be the face of the league. The only one
He
that
has,
has,
I think he has a. There's a difference to me in personality and being demonstrative.
yeah.
You know, Luke and
I mean, so with that being said, wouldn't you think Luka Doncic is he demonstrative or he just has a
he's
great personality?
he's very demonstrative. Uh, Dirk late in his career, he'd stick out his tongue, but before then, he didn't celebrate a dunk or any of that. He very rarely did this for a three until late in his career. Uh, and I think that hindered him. That's probably why I mean, Joker's won three without that. This is like Cooper Flag. Every time he dunks it, he does the
Yeah,
landlord Daniel Gafford holler, and I'm like, you're 6'9", you should be able to dunk it, but that's demonstrative. Uh,
okay,
so people, Draymond Green is demonstrative, but what I say is personality. Well, he's very vocal. So, what we see on the court, a lot of voters are swayed by, or demonstrative in their actions. If they just go about their business and just do,
hmm
what they're supposed to do as a player and they don't celebrate, they're not a diva, then the public tends to not categorize those people as MVPs. I think the voters realize that, so they don't take that into account. Otherwise, Joker wouldn't have won 3 out of 4 MVPs.
true statement.
So
And
who's
what
your
would
favorite?
my favorite would be Wimby, and I know this is just his second year basically, but he's been doing a lot for San Antonio. His ability to carry that team and what he did in the All Star, like really wanting to win, that proved to me that he is one of those players that cares more about the game than a lot of players do nowadays. I would choose him to be based off of that, the how he's carrying the team. He got the points, he got the rebounds, he got the blocks, and he has the passion to lead the team and has the passion to want to win all the time. Come on, man. That says a lot. That's a person that you want to follow when it comes to a battle. If you want to go out there and battle with somebody and prove to the other team that you're better, you want that leader like Wimby because he takes it to heart when he loses. He takes it to heart when he wins because he really want to win. That's who I would pick for MVP. But that's who I think is going to win MVP. But if I had to really, really choose, I would want to choose Wimby, but for whatever reason, I feel like Luka's going to win it this year.
Did you see the block the other day? So if my head is the rim, they know on a shot block they don't block, they go past the rim and they use the rim so that the shot blocker can't block it. That's what you teach cards. Go past the rim. And Wimby hand came underneath the rim, clean on the other side, and the guy's over here and blocked it and never touched him. He got nothing but ball. And
Dang.
he didn't go through the net. Like if the net's here, he didn't go through the net. So the guard's like, well, he can't block it because I'm on the other side of the rim. And Wimby's reach was so long, it's like it wasn't even a tip. It was like half his hand was all up in that guy.
He's a phenomenon, man. I have to really say Wimby is a freak of nature. Is he human? Is the question.
Well, for 7'4" to have handles like he has and not get it stolen, because he dribbles it low. A seven
Mhm.
foot four, it's got to come a long way up, but he gets down. He had that crab dribble. He beat a guy with a first step, snatched it back, came between the legs, and did a step back three, and it was nothing but net. He's already walking down the other end of the court at 7'4". But if you took Ralph Sampson, if you took Kevin Durant shooting and put him in Ralph Sampson's body, that's what Wimby is.
I was just thinking about Kevin Durant. Wimby reminds me as far as how he moves and sways in the game. It's a lot like Kevin Durant, and I would beg to ask him as far as Wimby, is Kevin Durant his favorite player of all time? Because he looks a lot like him.
Yeah, and if you go way back, Kevin Durant is just Tracy McGrady a few inches taller, 3 or 4 inches taller.
Yeah.
Very similar game.
Jason McGrady was a phenomenon, man. And it's crazy he found out that Vince Carter was his cousin.
So you would have been Wemby. Who would be your second and third vote?
Well, I would have to pick Luca because I think that's who they're gonna pick. I think they're gonna pick Luca. Wimby would be my second because that's based off of what I'm feeling. In my third, it's got to be SGA because he's just right there. He's always gonna be that since he won it already and he's still leading his team. And what Earl K. Snead said, it's the most valuable player in value. What value does he bring to the team? Is he if without him, can you still be where you are? And I think without SGA being on that team, or even Luca, where would the Lakers be? Or San Antonio, they still pretty good, you know what I mean? Because they got a great coach. Popovic chose the right coach. The organization chose the right coach, and he's been leading them for the last 2 years, and they have grown phenomenally. Yeah, so whatever. But yeah, I would say Luca, Wimby, and then SGA in that order would be. It has to be Luca for whatever reason. I think they're going to choose him.
L.A. Lucas.
Yeah. I think you got the next question. What you got?
So collective bargaining is always a hot topic, no matter what sport. And the WNBA has been pushing it out. And just in the last couple of days, the WNBA came to a verbal collective bargaining agreement, and the players got to vote on it.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen some of the details, but what do you think with the WNBA finally getting their collective bargaining agreement done?
Yeah, I have some of the information pulled up right now. Uh, it's agreed landmark 7.7 year collective bargaining agreement. 7 years is a long time. The financial growth, improved players' benefits. Key changes include raising the team salary to 1.5 million, which is not bad, to 7 million in 2026, boosting players' minimum salary to $270,000, which is still, that's just for the bargain basement players, so that they get still $270,000. So I don't think they'll be complaining about that. A lot of the players, I mean, because if you really think about it, the it's growing, but it still doesn't have the impact as the NBA does. And even though the NBA is losing a lot of viewership, but the agreement itself is not too bad. Rookie scale, first overall pick will earn roughly 500,000 in their first season, and that's projected a 4-year deal tossing, by between $2.2 million. Revenue sharing with the players is increased to 20% across the league. Improved player experience, mandatory charter flights. So they're getting charter flights, premium travel accommodation, increased mental health resources, and improved family planning benefits are included in this as well. Expansions and roster changes. The league is adding teams: Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. Never heard of them, but it's two new teams, just like the NBA. The roster size will expand with two new spots per teams for developmental players, which is good. And lottery picks will receive full salary protection in their first year. That's really dope. Full salary protection. So I guess they didn't have that in the beginning. So the agreement is being ratified by both the WNBA Board of Governors and the Women's National Basketball Players Association. Marks a new era aimed toward capitalizing the league's rise in popularity, which is not bad because the league is growing. Um, Asia Wilson, she's been really making the league one of those dynamic, especially she's been playing good, and seeing her with Bam Adebayo, it makes me like her a lot more. I never really paid attention to any of those games yet because I'm not a WNBA fan like that. But for whatever reason, I'm really drawn to Asia Wilson because to me, her and Bam seem like a great couple. And when I like me being married, I like being with a great couple. I like being a good couple. So I think she's drawing me more so into to
It
the
kind of like Gabriel Reese and Dwayne Wade.
yeah. I'm not a Dwayne Wade fan though. So that'll be the difference. If I liked him, I would probably be better off.
Well, he married at his own level with
Yeah,
Gabriel. So
yeah.
you mentioned the minimum salary was 250,000.
The minimum salary is see for rookies is upwards to they can make 500,000, but the minimum is 70,000.
270.
Mm-hmm.
So last year the maximum salary was 250,000.
So I only pull it up to $20,000.
If you think about that for a minute, that in their agreement, the minimum is what last year's maximum was.
Oh
And
wow.
the first time ever that they have got a percentage of the revenue, and that
That's
percentage is
20%.
supposed to go up.
Yeah, 20% is what they're
Yeah,
getting this
and
this
I think
coming agreement.
it's capped at the end of the agreement. There's also an opt out. I think it's like up to 35% of the revenue.
Hmm.
And for the first time, they actually have a salary cap. So uh, they had a pseudo salary cap before. So let me ask you this: when you have 7 million and the rosters are smaller, uh,
Hmm.
like 10 or 12 players, there's 80% of the players in the NBA last year are unrestricted free agents right now.
80%.
80%. There's only two players that are not on a rookie contract in the whole league. So there's this piece, there's a huge piece that the rookie contract. There's only two players on a non-rookie contract that are not a free agent.
Mm.
So, the New York Liberty, the Minnesota Lynx, the Aces, they've been kind of these super teams because they could get marketing and advertise deals and all that. They couldn't pay a salary.
Hmm.
And remember, Brittany Griner went over to China, and a lot of players were playing overseas during the winter just so they could make money.
She
So
went over to Russia too.
she went over to Russia. So do you think with this with this new CBA being able to play players up to $1 million that this will keep them from having to go overseas to play?
It all depends on. I think a lot of the time it depends on how they work their finances as far as these players go. Because I mean I've heard Angel Reese complain about the amount of money she's getting paid by the league, but if you're not getting paid a lot of money, I mean, think about Kawhi Leonard. He gets paid a lot of money, but he still lives below his means. He doesn't buy the expensive cars. He doesn't buy the jewelry. He doesn't buy all these things that is unnecessary. It's just material things. But a lot of the women in the WNBA, and I'm not saying all of them, but they tend to live beyond their means. I mean, just trying to keep up with the Joneses. A lot of NBA players do the same thing, trying to keep up with your teammates. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have to do that. You got to think long term. So I think if they start living beyond their means, then they may have to start looking at other opportunities in Europe, China, and places like that to even supplement their overspending. If you just
So
wanted my opinion.
let me give you a couple other reference points. The Minnesota Vikings just signed Kyler Murray. Most of his salary is paid by Phoenix this year.
Mm,
Minnesota could only pay him the minimum, and we know football players make big money. I mean, wide receiver just signed for 40 million. You got quarterbacks making 60 million. Kyler Murray signed for the minimum. It was 1.3 million. So when you look at it, a WNBA player can make $1 million now. Another reference is the NBA minimum salary is in that 2 to 3 million range. So the maximum last year was $250,000. Now they can make 4 times what they made last year. That's not counting State Farm commercials or Gatorade commercials or anything. This is just salary and not perks. I know dresses cost a lot of money, but they don't cost that kind of money, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, I get what you're saying, but still,
But
there's a lot of wild
so
spending out there for
so the
sure.
top to tell you how far they've come, a player at the top of the salary tree is making what a minimum NFL player makes. That's pretty dope.
No, for real. I mean, then this is 7-year collective bargaining agreement, so that's going to be 7 years of you guys getting your league moving. I mean, I wonder, will it still be successful? I mean, it's not as popular as a lot of leagues, and there's a lot of controversy that trying to get this agreement done that caused a little bit of damage to the league. Now, will they recover from that? I beg to differ. I don't think they will for sure. But you never know. If there's another player come
Well,
in like Juju,
the
remember
players
that thinker who
finance
played for
unrivaled.
UCLA?
The players finance the unrivaled league, and they were
Right.
paying big salaries, so they had to be able to at least match what the unrivaled. Uh,
Yeah. That's what I'm
so
saying. So it's just too much controversy that's going on between the players doing their own thing and trying to mm, get this deal done with the WNBA. But again, what I was trying to say is that maybe another player that'll come into the league and shine. And I think her name was Juju Watson, Juju Smith. I can't remember her last name. I think she played for UCLA before she hurt her knee her last game. And if she comes in and lights it up, kind of like Caitlin Clark did, and have that same shine as Angel Reese, that could bring a lot of attention back to the league. And that's all you really need is more attention, more players that are willing to just shine more than what they've been receiving. Besides what Caitlin Clark brought to the league, and again Angel Reese, so
and
those two girls.
Paige Beckers for the Dallas Wings. Uh,
Paige Becker, she did good, but she wasn't like she didn't shine a lot of light on the league in my opinion because I watched the 1 or 2 games, but it wasn't like watching Caitlin Clark when she came in. You know what I mean? Caitlin Clark killed it. She really brought a lot of attention to the league.
yeah, I mean they switched a lot of games in the last couple of years because of Clayton Clark. They're
Mhm,
selling out NBA arenas.
mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had to do something. And the 20% revenue sharing this year, it goes up each year in the 7 years. So it's not the 54 or 55% the NBA gets, but at least they're getting a dedicated piece of the pie, and the salaries are up there. I'm like, I think I'd get a wig. I couldn't play, but I'd get a wig and put on those, girly shorts, the 1980s up, short shorts. And so,
You got to run up down that court though. Them girls is pretty fast nowadays.
yeah, they're pretty fast.
All right. Let's go. I'm gonna ask you the next topic question, and then you can ask me the last topic question. I know we've competed against each other coaching wise, and it's been kind of a challenge to get players to really buy into what you're trying to teach them and giving them that understanding of the game. How did you, when you coach, and we coach, I coached a few grown men back in the day. I did have one team that I coached grown men, and it was tough getting them guys to buy into the program. But once they understood what I was saying, then it made sense. But how did you, as a coach, former coach, get players to buy into what you was trying to instill in them in regards to your program?
Well, I, I'm gonna go over some of the things that was tough. Uh, but a lot of it's what my hockey coach drilled into me. The best player and the worst player get the same amount of attention. The if you're going to get on to the best player, you get on to the worst player, but you don't ever
Mm.
degrade them. So as a coach, you always want to build them up, but you want to give them useful information and like to make them better and motivate them and push them. Uh, so the number one on my list was hustle and giving 100% during practice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and my hockey coach was, we're going to run these drills at game speed. So if uh, I could jog, if they weren't running full speed, I could jog and somewhat stay up with them. And I'm like, my grandma will run faster than you. And when I could run those drills with them, I'm like, give me 100%. You know, the game is faster than practice. So we're going to run this drill at games. So if somebody wasn't us, I'd have the best player calling out the other player. That was the other thing I used to get buy-in. Uh, even though in a rec league the gym is small and there's less than 100 people in there, they still can't hear the coaches unless you're yelling at the top of your lungs. Even then, they. So when we do a drill and they had to make say 50 shots, uh, Byron, who we both coach with, he would count them, and I said, "Well, why are you counting them?" I said, "Make them count. If they don't count, they got to run the drill over again." And that was the build in two things: the players talking to each other on the court because they could hear each other on the court, and they couldn't always hear the coach, but also put the ownership of the best player leading the team and making them have to count. It's like, we got to run it. Like, you had the opportunity to count too, so it didn't matter who wasn't counting. I bust everybody's chops equally. Uh, the other thing that built team chemistry would say it's a break. You always get these players, they like to take shots during the break.
Mm.
Like, if you got enough energy to take shots during the break, then the whole team's got to do sprints.
Mm.
And they would call out a player's name and they're like, "Oh, Johnny, well, you taking a shot down." And you do that one or two times as a coach, and the rest of the team's got to run. I don't want to run a sprint. Okay, well, either you're on the team or you're not on the team. The team has to do sprints.
Mm.
So if you don't want to do sprints, that's fine. Then you're not on the team. And so after a couple of times like that, then you get the players sniping at each other and telling them, "No shots during the break. Coach said no shots during the break." It only takes 2 or 3 sprints for them to, you know. So it's one thing when I'm barking out the orders, but then when they when they have to uh, endure a drill they don't want to have to endure, then that will change their mindset and they'll buy in. Uh, the other was, which drove me crazy, and during practice is not just drill. Sometimes you're trying to teach them. And when the coach is speaking, so kids are going to be kids, especially when they're in school, and it's a chance for them to relax and they start talking to each other. And sometimes I blow my whistle, and sometimes I would just stop. I, I say, "Hey, Johnny, what are you talking about over there?" "I'm sorry, coach." "All right,
Mhm.
everybody line up." "What are we lining up for?" "Johnny was talking to somebody. I was trying to teach him, and I guess y'all don't want to hear." "I was listening, coach." "Well, the whole team wasn't listening, so line up. Y'all got 10 seconds to run this drill, which is from one line to the next and back, all the way back, all the way to the half court, back, all the way to the free throw line, back, all the way down." Like, you're not gonna be talking when I'm trying to help as a coach. Even if one player knew what it was, zip it. After about 3 or 4 practices, when 2 players started talking, you heard other players like, "Shut up, shut up." So my point is there's always a way to motivate them by using their own teammates. And it's simple things like making them count that were focusing them to be together and not fighting with the coach. It's like, okay, we want more of this and less of this.
Mm-hmm.
So you you had me come to one of your practices. What was some of your toughest challenges as a coach to get players to buy in?
Um, Number one is if one player gets away with it, then they all feel like they can get away with it. And I agree with you with that one. How I got them to buy in is I run the same play over. I run the hardest plays. I make them the hardest play as far as offense is the one that we it will be our base play and our base play. If you can learn this play right here, the hardest play, the base play is then you're good. You know what I mean? It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be challenges because you're moving. You got to watch the ball. You got to pass the ball. You got to cut. It's a lot of that, and we do it over and over and over again until they get it. But that's how the first part of having them buy in, and the second part, there's a couple of parts to it. The second part too is when they see it in practice, and not in practice, but when they see it in a game speed. Like we practice this all the time, and now you're about to see it work. And when they see it work, they go like, because the passing is way better than just one man trying to take you off the dribble, because now anybody can score. It all depends on who gets the pass. If you pass into a ball, the guy he's wide open, or he's passing it to you and you're wide open. Just make the score, because that's how the offense is designed. It's a complicated offense, but if you learn it, then you're able to score at any time. Anybody can score. Everybody's going to score. I always taught them that defense is number one, ball moving is next, because without those two things, you're not going to win any games, because defense is how you get the ball back. That's the only way you're going to get the ball back, is play defense. Rather be a defensive rebound, getting a steal, blocking a shot, or whatever you have to do to get that ball back. And when you get that ball back, run your offense. It's complicated. But once you run it 1,000 times, it's not complicated for you, but it's complicated for the other defense, because it works on just about any defensive scheme. So if you learn it, then it'll be a lot easier for you to understand it, because now they don't know, they see it happening, but they don't understand why he cutting and what's coming after the cut. Where's the ball going? You know what I mean? You have to see it several times before you really understand it, as far as the opposing team. And I think that's why I we won a lot of games, because of that specific offense. 'Cause it took me a while to really understand what I wanted. I kind of took a little bit of everything from a college level, and I implemented it into basically a middle school level, where the middle school kids were learning it, and then it just became second nature, because now you don't have to be dominating the ball. You need a guard to bring the ball up, yes, but once that guard gets across half court, he's setting up the offense, and once the offense is set up, then we can run the offense. And once you learn the base offense again, because it's going to be the hardest one, everything else is going to be easy, because we can do pick and roll all day long. Like once we get up a bunch of points, then we can just kind of practice at this point, because now we got a 20-point lead, and it's maybe 5 minutes left, and now let's just practice our other plays that we learned in practice on this specific game. And once they see it, that they can win with the offense, they can win with defense, then they're buying in. They were like, okay, I see what coach is talking about, because if I cut here, the ball's coming here, and then that we get an easy score. And if they trap me, I know where to go with the ball, because I'm not gonna get trapped. If I get trapped, the ball's already moving. So once you learn that, and once they learn that the play is basically designed for you guys, anybody can score in it, then just run it. And I remember one game, it was one of our center, we was playing in Fort Worth, I believe. Everybody scored in the game, but him. And he was working hard. So I called timeout. This is fourth quarter or second half, because we only have two halves. Second half, it was probably like maybe 3 minutes left in the game. And I said, hey guys, everybody scored, because I kept my stats. I would look at the bench and see who's doing what. I have a guy keeping stats so I can see what's going on during the game. Okay, so you have no rebounds, you have no steals. I'll be telling them what they need to get done. But Caleb had no point. That's the name of the kid. His name's Caleb. And everybody got in the huddle. I said, guys, Caleb hasn't scored. My two best players were sitting on the bench at that time. They stayed on the bench. So they ran the play, the base offense, and they threw it out to Caleb. He took one bounce, stepped back. He was almost at the 3-point line, shot it, made it, and the whole crew just, it was so fun. It was so exciting because he scored. Everybody was wanting him to score. And then when he scored, it was like everybody cheered for him. You know what I mean? Because it was like we were wanting everybody to score. And that moment kind of boosted his confidence and he just got better. And I think the next tournament we had, whatever happened, man, like we was blowing this team out by 20. And one of my guard and my shooting guard got a steal. Caleb was in the middle and the shooting guard passed it to the point guard on the right wing, and he lobbed it up to Caleb. And Caleb, I think Caleb was in the ninth grade at the time, dunked it. He dunked it off the lob. I was like, what? I've never because he never dunked before. And he dunked in the game. So I think all those things made him buy into what we was trying to teach him. The base offense is the hardest offense. But if you learn it, then other teams it'll be comfortable for you passing. You know, once you buy into that and learn it, man, and you see it in practice as far as when you're doing it in a real game, and it works. Then you say, okay, the coach knows what he's talking about, and that's all they really want to know. If the coach won't know what he's talking about, it's kind of challenging sometimes with parents not understanding what you're trying to lead your kids to. But once they see it in practice, as far as seeing it in game speed, and they're doing it in the game and it's working, then it'd be like, oh, that coach is really good. Not that I'm saying I was a good coach or anything. Like I was decent, won a lot of games, but I did it because I got the kids to buy into what I was telling them. Defense first and ball movement. Defensive ball movement was our philosophy. I don't care what else you're doing. We're gonna play defense first. That's the most important thing. Learn zones, learn man to man. Once you learn those things, we played a lot of zone, but man to man was pretty tough for a lot of kids because they couldn't move their feet as fast. But we played a hell of a 2-3 zone. A lot of teams hated seeing us because we played that zone so well. You couldn't get down in the middle, and that was our key thing is don't let nobody in the middle. If they get in the middle, it's a wrap. But they called it. They knew how to run it, and it was tough. It was tough to get in our middle, but that's once they see that it works in a game, then they really buy in. But practice, like you said, is the key. Once you practice a lot, same thing, repetition, and your philosophy got to be on point, and your philosophy got to be true to you, and then it'll be true to the boys. And once you get to that point, you can win a lot of games. But that's how I get them to buy in.
So, I always had a lot of slogans: legs go, shot go. So we always wanted to be the most in shape and fastest team and run the other team to their tongues wag. Because even if they got an open shot, their legs would go, shot would go. But one of the others, and we ran some drills, uh, we always said pass beats a dribble. And, you have your standard passing drill where you bounce pass, you chest pass, you lob pass, and all that. How did you get your kids to pass instead of dribble?
That again, it goes back to the offense we ran. The offense was designed for passing and cutting. They had no choice because the only person that dribbled was the guard coming up the court. And then he set the offense up. And the base offense was designed for passing and cutting. If you didn't cut, you wouldn't get in the ball. You stall the offense because it was a rotation. Like it depends on where the ball starts. You pass it, you cut down, and you go to the corner, and then they rotate. And it was always a rotation. Whether either way it goes, you just got to understand where you're rotating. And once you're rotating, the ball's coming to you regardless. I mean, and then if you get trapped, there's a person already filling your spot, and you get right back to that person and go to the other side of the court. And it's just a rotation, and we just kept going, and then that's how we got them to pass, and they loved it, and and it worked. You know what I mean? Because that was one of those offenses I had to really think about. How do we get these boys to just not worry about dribbling all the time? and I had to design something that was based off of passing and cutting.
So, other than the bounce pass, chest pass, lob pass, I kind of took a hockey drill and made it. So in a basketball court, you got the tip-off circle, and outside there's a big old circle.
Hmm.
So I would have all the players line up in that circle. They could stand wherever they wanted, and one ball, and I would throw the first pass. I said the rules are real simple. You throw a bad pass where they can't catch it, you're out. You throw a pass where they have to reach for it, they're out. If you
Mm,
don't catch the pass, you're out. If you drop the pass, you're out. If you wait
mm,
too long to pass the ball, you're out. So I lined them all up, one ball, and like last person standing gets to take the 3-point shot.
mm.
And that the veterans is like, boy, that ball started bouncing around like a hot potato. No one wanted like bad pass, you're out. Or someone would fumble, they would go ahead like, well, you didn't pass the ball. He goes, I'm out. I'm like, that doesn't mean you don't pass the ball. So he picked it up and passed it. One guy he caught it, waited too long thinking about who he's going to throw it to, out. So after a
Dang.
while, the last person is kind of like, we ran that drill 2 or 3 times a year, and they couldn't wait for that drill because they wanted to be the last person to uh, holding the ball. But it
Now,
taught
is
them
that a 3-pointer in the game or just after practice, after they get finished
after
the drill?
practice. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think I included some kind of prize, to motivate them. But the teaching of it was the ball's got to move quick. You can't think about it. You can't hesitate. You can't throw a bad pass. You can't drop the pass.
Hmm.
And we saw that simple drill, which was competitive, start to show up in the game because now
Mm,
they weren't thinking. They were instinctively, hey, that guy's open. I'm throwing it over here. So
mm,
it wasn't about how to throw it or where to throw it. It was, I got to get rid of it quick and he's open.
mm,
So, and when you get the whole team involved in one drill like that, instead of, oh, one guy's going up through the cones, zigzagging, and then they wait for their turn, and you know, this way they're all in a circle and they're all 10 involved. So,
hmm.
uh, builds a little team chemistry. I think you're up for the next question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the next question, guys, is I think we kind of talked about this a little bit in a couple of episodes prior. And do teams tank? They some people say, I know Coach Mason said that they don't. He didn't believe that they did. And Errol Sneed kind of said the same thing, but I kind of disagree with teams. They do have a motive to tank. Anti-tanking rules are being kind of talked about, and some of the things they're saying is that they're expanding the draft lottery to 18 to 22 teams, flattening odds, and using a 2-year racket to determine positioning. Um, Lottery limbo proposal maybe restrict bottom 5 teams from selecting lower than 10th or increasing the odds for playoff teams to gain higher picks. There's a lot going on with this anti-tanking. Um, what are your thoughts on what the anti-tanking rules are that they're trying to implement? The proposal that is, because it's a lot going on with what they're trying to do.
I, I'm going to use a phrase that you used to hear some preachers talk about. You can't legislate morality. And all the laws, especially with the recent gambling issues, you can write all the legislation you want to illegalize gambling. There's still people going to gamble.
Correct.
So the same thing I think with anti-taking is you can write all kinds of rules. People will find a way around the rule, just like the first and second apron. They found a way around that to modify uh, those. And so I think it might help, but it's not going to be incentive. If you're ranking a 9 and 10 or 7 and 8, and you still are in the lottery, uh,
Hmm.
for those that have been listening, it used to be any team not make the playoffs. This is before there's a play-in, got in the lottery, and the very first lottery was won only the first and second team. The two teams were the worst loss. They're like, if we'll include more teams, there won't be an incentive to have the worst record. So last year, three of the four worst records ended up with the fourth, fifth, and sixth pick. So I was reading there and talking about a tier system where they have one lottery for the first three picks and they have another lottery for the fourth, fifth, and sixth pick. So you could have the worst record in the league if you don't get one of the first three picks. Now you're put in with the people that are in the playoffs. Now you get bumped again from the fourth, fifth, and sixth. You could end up in the seventh, eighth, or ninth pick and have the worst league in the year. Uh, at the 2 year, okay, you have a great year. You might as well call that the David Robinson, Tim Duncan rule, because the Spurs were in the playoffs. Robinson gets hurt, he's out for the year. They get the first pick to get David Robinson.
Hmm.
The year before they had won 50 plus games. Uh, when Robinson was out, they won, in the teens.
They're
So
saying they're no longer allowing teams to pick top four in consecutive years after consecutive bottom three finishes. That's crazy.
yeah, and I mean you can legislate that in. You can legislate if you tank, they take a first round pick away from you in future years, uh, which has smaller value. Uh, in soccer in Europe, the way they get rid of tanking is that there's actually two-tier league. There's
Hmm.
the premium league and then there's the non-premium league. And if you got the worst record in the league, uh, I think it's 1 year or 2 years, they drop you down into the lower league. So
Dang.
if you wanted to get rid of tanking, uh, let's say Commissioner Adam Silver said, if you're tanking and you have the one of the four
Your
worst
team
records
goes
in
to
the
the
league
G
for
League.
2 years, you got to go to the G League for 2 years. Do you think the owners would be interested in trying to play for the best pick? Yeah, I mean, and you'd have to do it. You got to You could do it on a 1 year basis because injuries play a part like that. Uh, you'd have to do it on like a 2 year basis. But say you had one of the four worst records 2 years in a row, and then all of a sudden, it comes up to that. Now you got to play in the G League not for 1 year, but for 2 years.
That'd be crazy.
Well, there's a lot of motivation to get back in. And the way the soccer league is they do that. The premium league is not only do they move to the lower league, but then they got to be the top one or two teams in the lower league to get back into the premium league. So,
Mm.
I mean, the PGA is kind of structured to that. They've got some used to be called the Nike Tour. I don't know what the sponsor is now, but it used to be you had to be a top five golfer to get a PGA card. And if
Mm.
you didn't, if you got your PGA card and didn't win enough or win a tournament, you went back to the lower league. So, I mean, when you're charging, they're talking about expansion, $7 to $10 billion for a team. Uh, a 10 bi- an owner that's paying $10 billion is not going to play in the G League.
Yeah, I
But
wouldn't. I mean,
it would
that's crazy.
kill the league in a way because now you got no revenue and it'd kill a fan base. So I
Yeah.
don't think Adam Silver would ever do that. But there's a lot of ups and downs in any franchises, and there's peaks and valleys. But it's become more and more obvious, especially those teams that can take on salary and get extra picks. In a bad draft year, like 2026 is a really good class, so there's a lot of teams that don't no incentive to win at all. but next
Mm-hmm.
year is a bad draft class. So that, I mean, none of the players want to lose, and they're going to play hard. We're out there, but a coach decide who's on the court, and you can make little subtle moves that decrease the opportunity to win. So you're not trying to lose, but you're decreasing your odds to win.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing that a lot. Like Trae Young was ruled out for the rest of the year. Memphis ruled out Ja Morant for the rest of the year. I hadn't seen anything on
Kyrie got
Anthony
ruled out for
Davis.
the rest of the year.
Who?
Kyrie.
Kyrie out for the rest of the year. So uh, if it looks like Golden State, they're right on that line of playing, not playing. Uh, he was supposed to get reevaluated, and they're saying, well, he may not play it. He may not play at all. So I think
Mm.
you're looking at it wouldn't surprise me in the next week, within the next week, that they say Stephen Curry's out for the rest of the year, especially
Yeah,
if they can't stay in the play-in tournament.
I think that would be a good topic too for our next podcast. Golden State. Where do they go from here after Curry, after Draymond, and then, Clay's already here in Dallas, but I think we need to talk about that for sure.
Yeah. So I look, Dick Motta accused the coach of Houston of tanking to get Olajuwon. That's where it all started,
Mm.
1984. And for those of you who don't know, stay tuned. Mike, he's writing a book on the 80s versus the 2000s, and he's going to quote me. So you need to put that in the book. Tanking
Well, it's not.
started
It's
with
not. It's not a book. It's an article.
an article.
That'd be a long ass book.
Well,
I have a lot to
it
say.
would be a good short story too, but you can put that in the 80s. Tanking started when Dick Motta accused Houston of losing games on purpose so they could get Olajuwon.
Roger one, yeah. Dang, I
That,
didn't
that,
even know that.
that's where it started. So
Dang.
I have a bonus question that we can wrap our show up with.
I'm
So
right here.
we're currently in March Madness. Half of the Sweet 16 played last night. The other half is playing tonight to make the Elite Eight. What
Hmm.
is your favorite memory or moment in an NCAA tournament game?
Oh, that's easy. You should already know this one. When he did this. And that's the reason why there's a number 4 on Swish for real. When he did that, it just kind of threw me off because I didn't like Duke at the time. Still don't like Duke, but uh, it kind of killed my
It was
dreams.
actually North Carolina.
Well, it was in North Carolina when
Yeah,
he called the timeout.
yeah. So for our listeners, what Coach Mike is talking about is Chris Webber was playing for Kentucky,
Chris
and
playing for Michigan.
it, they they were playing against Kentucky. So it's Michigan, Kentucky. Jamal Mashburn was on Kentucky. He was on the Fab Five, and they made the NCAA final game. They play in UNC, University of North Carolina, 1992. I was at the game.
Yeah, it was
They had,
1993, the NCAA
yeah,
championship
92,
game.
93
Yeah.
season. And about 5, 6 minutes left to go in the second half. UNC, Dean Smith, when he still put on a press, and Michigan wasn't expecting it. So they
Mm.
called a timeout, not so they wouldn't violate the 5-second rule. I turned to my friend. I said, "Is that going to play a factor in the game?" Because I knew that was their last timeout. Well, the game is within 1 point or tied,
Yeah,
and
it was
very
11
few
seconds
seconds.
left.
Very few. How many seconds left?
11 seconds left while they were
11 seconds
trailing
left.
73-71.
So, there had been tournament games where there's 3, 4 seconds left, and a point guard dribbled all the way up the court and got a layup to win a game. Well, for some reason, they threw it in Chris Webber. He drove it. UNC double teamed him, and he tried to call a timeout not to lose it. They didn't have it, which was a technical foul plus loss of the ball.
Yep.
And
Mm.
it was a one. It either tied or 1 point. But anyhow, because of the possession and the technical foul, UNC actually got points, and so the spread looked bigger. The
Yep.
other part of that game, I think that was Dean Smith's first NCAA championship.
What? I didn't
It
even
was
know that.
82 or 92, but look it up. I'm pretty sure that because I was in New Orleans for that tournament. And when you talk about memorable plays in the NCAA, it's that one, and there's one other. And it does involve Duke, unfortunately.
Christian Laettner when he hit that shot.
Christian Laettner, I think that was against Kentucky as well. Yeah. There's like
Yeah,
1 or 2 seconds left, and Hurley threw it the length of the court. He caught it at the top of the key, turned around, shot nothing but net.
and made it.
Won the game.
I could have just threw up in my soup that day. I was like,
It,
Duke did
I
it.
have a top 3. You probably weren't watching this game. Houston was playing North Carolina State, and Derek Whittenburg took a shot.
What year?
Was 82, 83.
Yeah, I was probably not watching.
Derek Whittenburg took an outside shot. It was short. And I knew I'd forget his name. He played in the NBA. And he catches the ball and dunks it at the last second. Because Elijah Wan went up to kind of block it. And because it was short, he was already coming back down. And
I don't remember
Thurl
who that
Bailey
was.
was McQueen was the guy's last name. He catches it and dunks it, and they win by 1 point. And Jim Valvano is running all over the court looking for somebody to
Oh, the
hug,
hug. Yeah, I seen
and there's
that highlight.
nobody to hug. And it was actually the shot was short. He's like, "Were you intending to pass that?" And of course, he's going to say, "Yeah." But if you go back to that was kind of one of those NCAA tournament memory moments.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of injuries too back in the last couple of years when the NCAA happened. I remember that one kid who fell off. Was that at Jerry World when he fell off and broke his knee? That was horrible. I think it was a Texas Tech player, wasn't it?
Don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
I
Oh
do
man.
remember Tim Hardaway Jr. and Trey Burke in that at Jerry World Elite Eight game.
Oh
And
yeah. Trey
and
Burke made a name for himself at that time.
yeah, he made a 3-pointer to win the game for him.
That kid was amazing,
And
but
then
he
to the
just never
Elite Eight.
materialized.
Say again?
He just never materialized in the NBA though.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Trey Burke was too small.
Yeah.
And Dirk would say, too small, too small.
Burger. Got a burger.
Yeah. But Tim Hardaway Jr., there was another really good player, but Tim Hardaway Jr. has made a nice career for himself.
Yeah. Yeah. He became a great shooter, man. Not consistent shooter, but he's a great shooter.
Streaky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Flamethrower. So speaking of flamethrowing, tell people where they can reach you at.
Yes, yes, yes. It's the end of the show, guys. Thank y'all so much for joining in. Where you can reach me at right now, I'm on Instagram, Mikkel slash poet. Just type that in, Mikkel slash poet slash director, and you'll see me, Mikkel poet slash director. X, same thing. And also I have my YouTube channel where you can see my films. We're working on our next film now. We shoot Sunday, the Sunday, which will be like the ninth, the 29th. Yeah, it'll be the 29th. We shoot on the 29th this Sunday. Our first scene. Got quite a few scenes to go, but we're gonna make it happen. And also you can always catch me here on Swish for Real, man. So we are always in the building.
You can find me at Swish for Real, or you can find me at Boogie Bob.
Boogie Bob
So,
right over there.
so, and I've got a book out there. Just look at on Amazon called MG and Me. Big Mike's already bought it, read it, and gave me a review. So if you happen to buy the book, read it, any review, that's fine. Love it. Just get the word out.
Yeah.
But Swish for real. We're out.
Yeah. We got a great show, man. Appreciate you, Boogie, man. Hey, we'll get it in next time, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
That's it, Pray.